Hello everybody, my name is Deepak Sharma. Welcome back to the online sessions for stage 300. So today I will be recording the second lecture for the online sessions, the series that I have started recording for stage 300 2017. So in today's lecture we will focus on lesson 1. So I hope some of my students who have already heard my lecture online on Blackboard, they may have a good understanding on what topics need to be covered from chapter 1. So I just wanted to quickly create a small session that will summarize the entire chapter and focus on some of the key topics that you need to know. And if you are struggling on any of those key topics, maybe this video will able to help you out with this. And to do the online sessions, what I have thought for you guys is this is the kind of courses that you don't have too many exercises to practice. So therefore what I have decided to do is that you have a chapter which you guys will be completing by using your own test book. And as you already know that for the chapters that we're doing in this chapter, we're using a company called Omni Electronics. And we started this chapter 1 last week. And in that chapter what we have done is we have completed exercise 1 all the way to the end of the exercise on chapter 1, and the last exercise we did was I think exercise 1.7 or 1.8. So in that exercise what we have done is we created a company database in SQL, and we have also created a similar database using the Sage 300, and then we looked at the administration services and the common services in that. So with the online lecture, what I have done is that I created an additional exercise for you, and it is going to work in a similar way that you're completing a chapter. So what you can do is you can listen to my webinar online on YouTube, and this will give you a summary of what need to be done for this chapter, and then I will post this lecture exercise which I'm calling it as a at-home practice exercise. And in this what you're going to do is after you complete your chapter 1, you can come back to it and print this exercise, and we will create a database today, and then you use that same database to continue lesson 1, then lesson 2, lesson 3, and so forth. Okay, so this will be a good practice exercise for you to make sure that all the learning objectives we have in each lesson, we are meeting those, and you understand those concepts that we have learned together in our virtual classes. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to summarize what we're going to do in lesson 1, and this will be a short video, but it will focus on the 3 or 4 main topics that we have in lesson 1. So if you look at the screen that I'm in right now, so this is how it's going to be for each week. You're given an at-home practice exercise for each lesson, and this will be the same company we're going to use. So what I have done is I'm going to give you a background of what I decided that we're going to use this company. So I have created a new company, and we're going to set up a database today. And this new company, I have a company background information here. So I'm calling it as a your name accounting and tax consulting. And we are going to divide 2 different departments for this company. One we're going to call accounting, another one is going to call taxes. So we have 2 departments in the company, and then when we go in the next chapter, we're going to get into the GL setup. So in today's lecture, what we're going to do is we're going to create a database for this company on SQL. Then we're going to create a database in Sage 300, and then we're going to activate the administration and common services. And then I have listed the exercise says that you need to do, but I want you guys to do it, and I will summarize it and do it quickly on the screen here as well today. But then what I want you to do is after you have seen the video, I want you guys to go back into it, print this exercise, and do it by yourself. Okay, and that will give you a good understanding on the topics we have learned in this 1 week. So now to get it started, the very first thing that you're going to do in this chapter is we're going to create the company database. So as you have done it in chapter 1, whenever you're creating a new company, before you start, what you need to do is on your computer in your C drive, and this is what I have suggested you last week as well, that on your computer we're going to have a special folder. We're going to call this Sage 300. So that's what I have here. Inside this we're creating a new company called D Consulting. So what I have told you here is you're going to say XXX. So that means you're going to replace that XXX with the 3-digit of your first name. So first initial, first 3-digit of your first name. So if your name is Deepak, which is my name, I'm using it as DEE Consultings. Okay, and then once you create that folder, you're gonna go inside, and we're gonna create two new subfolders for that. You're gonna click on new folder and name that as the first 3-digit of your first name, DAT, then first 3-digit of your first name, SYS, system. Okay, so in that D Consulting, you're gonna create that folder and system folder. Once you finish doing that, then you're gonna go into the SQL. So I'm gonna go into my program and look for SQL Server 2014. Open. Once you inside here, so always copy the name of your server, which is whatever the name that you see there. I'm gonna Control C. So I copy that. I'm gonna click on connect, and what this is going to do is this gonna connect my SQL to my computer. So once this connects my computer, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the new database. So I'm going to go into a database, right click here, I'm going to click on new database. Okay, this is similar to what we have done in exercise 1.1. And now here I'm going to create that database. So here I put the same name that I used before, DEDAT. Okay. So I'm going to make sure that we use the same settings that we have in the test book. And in here we're creating the database for the company first. Okay, so once we do this, okay, so first we're going to do that with the system file actually. So what we're going to do is we're going to say DEE system, and then you're going to have to link this database into the same folder that we created before. So I'm going to go into a Sage 300, and this is my Consulting, and this is I'm going to link it with DSys, and the second, the log, will go into the DSys as well. So here DSys again, and the number of bytes supposed to be 5. And this is 1 megabyte, and this is 10%. Okay, then I click OK. Okay, so I have DSys. I'm going to do the same for dat as well. So I'm going to create one more. I'm going to call this dat. Okay, I'm going to repeat the same step again. So this is 5 and 1 megabyte and 10. Now I'm going to put the location. So in here it's going to be the dat, and same here, and press OK. Okay, so now you see there is two database called DDAT and DSys. Okay, so we're done with the SQL. So this was similar to what we have done in exercise 1.1. And now the next thing that you're going to do is you're going to do a database setup in Sage. So we're going to do database setup right here. You click on that. It's always going to give you this warning, and we're going to say yes, and your password is always going to be admin. Now see there is other database that's already there. If you have done Omni before, you must have Omni Dat and Omni Sys. And here, see, I put the wrong name, but doesn't matter as long as it's consistent. But now I'm going to create a new database. Make sure I use the right name. So I'm going to say D. I think it's going to be a system file first. So we're going to create the sys first. Okay, and this is a system database. And we press OK. And here we have to put a description. Don't worry about the system description, so we'll leave it as it is. See, now it's asking you the server. Remember we copied that, so now we're gonna click paste. So now I just pasted to the whatever the location that you copied from, and your login information. And login information is given in your test book on page 13. It is the same that you're gonna type in here for me as well. The login is SA as a login ID, and your password is Sage with the S capital 300, and the database name, and the database name has to be the same name that we used before, is dsys. Okay, and once you go in here, you're going to leave the enable application as a blank, and then we're going to press OK. Now we see this. Okay, well, it's supposed to be ABC system, ABC Express. That's fine. I'm going to leave it as it is. I'm not going to change it. Now I'm going to say so dsys is there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to say d that. Now I'm creating the database file. It's gonna be a company database. Now any company database you're gonna have is supposed to have a system database as well. So now that's why we always create a system file first, because it needs to be linked with the dat. So we create a database ddat and we link it with dsys. Press OK. And here you can put the description of your database as what is the name of your company. Okay, so here you can put your first name. What's the name of the company that we decided that we're going to use for? It's going to be your name, accounting and tax consulting. Okay, and here is your server. So you're going to paste it again, because remember it's the same server that you copied before, so always want to make sure that you have that copied. And same password here, SA and Sage 300. And this database has to be the same name that you created in SQL. So it's going to be D. This is a data file, so it's D dat, and press OK. Now we have dsys and ddat. Once we finish, we exit it. Okay, so now your company is ready. Your database is ready, but there's nothing in there. It's just a blank database we created. So now what we're going to do is now we're going to open this company. So here we're going to go into Sage 300, the software that we installed. Okay, so it's right here. So you click on Sage 300. You see that warning message. You press yes. Now you go in here. Okay, so you may not see my screen because it's actually it's on my next screen, but what I'm seeing here is that it's going to ask me an option as where you want this information, what company you want to open. Here I'm going to select, you will see an option called Deepak Accounting and Tax. So you will see it with your name, your first name, Accounting and Tax Consulting, and it's going to ask you your session date, and your session date is going to be 2020-01-01, because that's the starting date of your session. That's when we start to record transactions on January 1, 2020. You press OK. When you press OK, it's going to give you a warning. It's going to give you a warning. This is the warning that you guys will see. Administration is not active in this system database. Do you want to proceed? You're going to say proceed. Because there's nothing in there, it's going to get started with something, so at least it will activate the admin services. And it's going to ask you, say, what is the fiscal starting date, because we're going to start the fiscal year as 2020, so we'll leave the date as January 1st 2020, and we're going to click proceed. Now when you click proceed, it's going to ask you to put the company information. So I give you the company information. You will type in all that, and here I'm not going to worry about putting all the information. I'm just going to put the province Ontario. The rest of the detail you can put in, and then I'm going to option. The most important thing is the functional currency, because the system needs to know is which currency we are using. So here system has some default currencies already into a system. So these are all the currencies that are already exist, and because we are in Canada and the reporting for tax purposes is always done in a Canadian currency, so we're going to have a functional currency as a Canadian. Okay, and then we don't want to worry about the rest of the information here. We'll come back to it after, and we're going to press OK. So when you press OK, you will have the software open. So this is your Sage 300. When we started, there was nothing in there, and we asked the system to activate the admin services, which is right here, and the commerce services, which is right here. Okay, so now your company is created. Now you started to record transactions, but there is no general ledger yet. Okay, so therefore we have to activate general ledger to record transactions, and that will not happen up until next chapter, okay, which is lesson 2. So for now, for this chapter, we focus on the admin services. And most of the time when you are working for a small company, you may be taking care of all the admin services. Now, this is the kind of software that's not only used by small businesses, it could be used for small to medium-sized companies as well. So when you're thinking of a company who has a multiple locations, and they want to record transactions remotely, and they would still want to use a system that's more of an enterprise, this is a good solution for those kind of companies. So for that companies, there may be an IT consultant or an IT person who will take care of all these admin services. But if you are in that company that's pretty small and is just getting the start to use this software, then you may be dealing with these kind of situations. So what's the important part in the admin services that I feel that you may be using is the users. So for example, this company can have multiple users who can log into the company at the same time. So in that case, you may be coming here under the users and creating more users for this company. Now, am I going to ask you to do that in the test or the assignments? No. So we're only going to use one user, which is admin, and we're going to stick with that. Security groups, if you want the different users to have different security groups that they can have access to different modules, not everywhere, so you can set that up in the security groups. Users authorization. So if you want to authorize certain users to do certain things, that can be done under the user authorization. Okay, we're not going to touch these kind of things in this in this course, but these are important information that you may want to get into it. The data activation, now this is something that we will be doing, but I'm not going to do it in today's class, but we'll do it in the next class. So when you double click on that, it's going to show you all the modules that you have for this company, and you can activate the module that you wanted to use. So in this course, we're going to use 3 different modules. We're going to use a GL module, AB module, and AR, accounts payable and account receivable module. Okay, but there are other modules such as inventory, payroll modules that are very useful in this software. And the next and the important part that we're going to use is the database dump. Okay, so if you have done the Sage 50 course with me, I always suggest you guys to create backups on a different USB or different drive, so that way you if something happens to your computer, you have a backup file. Now that plays an important role in this course because in Simply Accounting, each chapter you're working with different companies. But when you're working with Sage 300, especially the test book that we're using here for this course, we are using a company called Omni Electronics. So if you want to use your own work, you may have to create the backups after every chapter gets completed. Okay, and what we call in this software, we call this a database dump. You will continue to work on a file that, for example, this is the file, and any work that I'm doing on this file is automatically getting saved. But if at the end of the day you want to create a backup at a certain point, you can dump your work. So that means if I dump the work that I have right now, it has nothing but just the name of the company. Okay, so if I dump it, it will create a backup. What at this time, whatever I have done up to now, get backed up to the certain folder. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you about this when we finish this chapter. So most likely from this is something what we're going to use in each chapter, database dump. Then we have other few places to go through under common services. You can change company's currencies. You want to add more currencies, you can do that under common services. Company profile, so this is where you come in to enter all the information about your company. What's your business name, legal name, this is what gets printed on every single thing that you're going to use in this test book. Okay, so you want to make sure you put the company information correctly here. You can change it anytime. Fiscal calendar, so if you want to see companies, so right now there is no fiscal calendar yet, so we're not going to do anything here, but we will be right now, but we'll be creating a new fiscal year later on in this chapter, which is going to happen in the next class, okay, in lesson 2. So right now we only stick with the company profile. And the other thing that we have done in chapter 1 is a scheduling. Okay, so in this exercise, what I'm asking you to do is I'm going to ask you to create us one schedule, and we call this a monthly schedule. So the reason that we create these schedules is that if we are creating a reminder for somebody and you wanted to have that reminder goes to people, to the different users, you don't have to do this setting all the time. You can simply pick up this schedule, and all the settings you have for this schedule will be applicable for the reminder that you're setting up. So here I'm going to call this schedule a monthly schedule. So I'm going to give them a code called monthly, and on the description I'm going to call this a monthly schedule. Okay, and then the frequency, how frequently I want that to happen on a monthly basis, and is it every month? Yes. On what day of the month do I want the reminder to go? On the last day of the month. Okay, and the users, which user you want to go to, I want that to go to all the users. And do you want that reminder to go on the same day, or you want this reminder to go maybe 3 days prior to the due date? I'm going to get this started on January 31st 2020. And once I have all these setups done, I click add. Once that gets added, that means my monthly schedule is added here. Okay, and we will be using this schedule a lot in the remaining chapters when we are setting up different reminders and different types of recurring transactions. Okay, so now this is the most important information that you need to know from chapter 1. So three key things is: one, how to set up the database in the SQL and the Sage. And the second thing that you need to understand is when you come in, how to change the company information. And the third thing is how to create a schedule. So once you finish these 3 things, the last thing that I wanted to show you is the backups. So when you're creating backups, right, so what I showed you before is for this course you're gonna have your own folder. I would just suggest that you guys to have a separate folder. You want to call this Sage 300, or you want to call that ACCT 204, whatever you want to call it, that's fine. And when you go inside there, you're gonna have all the companies that we're gonna work. So if you're working on the chapters, we have this Omni, and all the work getting saved in this. So this company that you'll be working on right now for the in-home practice, it's going to be saved under the consulting. So any work that I'm doing on this file is automatically getting saved in this folder. Now to create a backup, what I suggest you to do is I want you to create a same folder. Okay, and what we're going to name this is, at the end I'm going to call this a backup. Now if you want to have this backup on a USB, you can do that. But if you wanted to have it on your computer, that's fine. But for simplicity purposes, I'm just showing it to you on the C drive. So your backup and your regular file is sitting in the same place. So once you have the backup, in here you're going to have all the backups from your in-home practice exercises. So now you finished lesson 1. So what I'm going to call this is, I'm going to call this the consulting, and you can put your initial, and then what you're going to do is I'm going to call this end of lesson 1. Okay, so the backup that I'm going to do here, which is database dump, I'm going to dump it into this folder. So now how do I dump it? I go into the same place, admin services, click on database, dump. Now which company file do I want to dump? I wanted to dump the consulting company, but whenever you're doing the backup, which is the database dump, you have to dump both the files, a database file and a system file, and it has to go in the same folder. So I'm gonna do the database file first. I'm gonna give a location, and your location is my C drive, stage 300, the consulting backup, end of lesson 1. Press OK and call this dump. And it's always gonna give you a warning saying if there was anything in here, it gets replaced. That's fine. Close. I'm gonna do the same thing with the system. Remember, it's always 2 files. If you forget the second one, the dump is a waste because it will not be used if it doesn't have the system file with it. So here we're gonna do dump. Same message comes out again. You can press OK and it dumps the files from the system file. Now close it and close it. Now you're done with chapter number 1, lesson 1. Now before I close that, I want to make sure my backup is there, and before to check it, you see this was the time when I backed it up, and the name is a DTAT folders, DTAT system, and there's a files with a similar name as well. They're all created around the same time, so therefore I know that my backup is there. So once your backup is done, you're comfortable closing up the file. So what you can do now is you're done. All you do is file and exit. Okay, and then press yes. You're out of the file. Now your work is done. Now you can close up the work. Close up the file, and you know that the backup is there. And now next time when you come and do the lesson number 2, you can simply open Sage 300 and open the same company. And if you don't do the upload from the previous backup, that's fine because you already remember where you finished. You finish end of lesson 1. So now when you do lesson 2, it automatically starts from where you ended. Okay, so you don't need the database load to do. Okay, so this is the way you guys will complete the chapter 1. So now what you guys will be doing is after you heard this video, what I want you to do is this will be available to you on a Blackboard, and I'll see if I can also attach this with the video that I'm going to post on YouTube, and you can download it and print it. And then what I want you to do after you print this is there's 6 exercises that I have here. Okay, so give you the company information which I already told you. I want you to do exactly the same thing that I did. Okay, so you complete exercise 1 to exercise 7, and there should not be any problem because you have done it in chapter 1 and you have seen the video, and I want you to do this by yourself without looking at anywhere. Okay, once you complete this, if you have any questions, you feel free to reach out to me. And one last thing before I leave, I want you guys to do is when you finish this, I want you to create a separate database, and that's the database that we're going to use for all the assignments and the test. You know how you're creating XXX system and XXX dat file? So what I want you to do is I wanted to have you guys create the database with the TXT system and TXT dat. So that is the one that we're going to use for the test. Okay, so it's TES system, TES dat, and use the same with the database for the Sage database file for the Sage 300. And I'll show you guys on our next class as well, so that way you know you have those created before we actually do our first assignment, which is going to happen in 3 weeks. Alright guys, so this is the end of the video, and if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me by email or of course message on your Blackboard. Thank you.